Hello guys, welcome to our virtual science class. The topic of today is ecosystems. The objectives for our session are to understand the concept of ecosystem, to recognize the characteristics of ecosystems, to identify interactions in ecosystems. All early organisms are found in the biosphere. The biosphere is the layer of the earth where living things can live. Includes land, water, the lowest part of the atmosphere. Living things can be found almost everywhere, including very hot and cold places, as well as the deep ocean. The ecosystem is a place in the environment that includes living and not living things and the interactions among them. The ecosystems contain two essential factors: the biotic factor, that are the living parts of the ecosystems, including the remains and wastes, and the abiotic factors, not living parts of an ecosystem, including light, temperature, weather, soil, and water. An abiotic factor determines which organisms can live in a specific ecosystem. The ecosystems contain different habitats. The place where an organism lives supplies all of the biotic and abiotic factors an organisms need to survive. Different organisms need different habitats. Habitats all supply same basic needs: air, warmth, water, food, and shelter. Other relationships in the ecosystem. An ecosystem includes all the living and not living things that can interact and each other in the environment. The organisms interact with each other as well with other organisms of their own species. That means that in a group of the same kind of organisms, that is called population, interact. But those populations interact with another population of other organisms called community. We have three categories in ecosystems: terrestrial ecosystems, freshwater ecosystems, and marine or salty water ecosystems. The terrestrials are on land, like the forest, the desert, the grassland. The freshwater are also found on land: rivers, streams, lakes, and wetlands. And marine ecosystem is essentially the ocean. Remember that the ocean is the 70% of water in the world. Essentially, the energy flow in the ecosystem is one of the first relations that we can find there. Here, all organisms need energy for make their essential life processes. We have three types of organisms: the producers, the consumers, and the decomposers. The producers are organisms that produce its own food. They are called autotrophs. Includes plants, algae, and bacteria. They use the sunlight and the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere to make the process of photosynthesis. That means that they change carbon dioxide and water and produce glucose and oxygen. Do you remember this topic? Producers. Now we are going to talk about consumers. Consumers are organisms that cannot make their own food, also called heterotrophs. Animals are consumers. Some eat producers and other ones eat consumers. When an organism, a consumer, eats plants, is called herbivore. When an organism eats animals, is called carnivore. And if an organism eats both animals and plants, is called omnivore. We have different levels in consumers. The first order consumer or the primary consumers directly feeds on producers. The second order of consumers feed of the first order consumers, and the third order consumers feeds on second order consumers. We are going to look in the picture. We have the sun, the plant that is a producer, the primary consumer, the secondary consumer, the tertiary consumer, the fourth level consumer, and the decomposer, because the cycle continues. The decomposers are organisms that get energy by breaking down the remains of dead organisms and the wastes of living things. Another kind of heterotrophs, they get the energy of other organisms, even if they are not alive. The most fungi and bacteria fall into this category, earthworms and insects too. They are often called nature recyclers. They return carbon and nitrogen to the air and soil. These organizations make trophic levels. The trophic levels are the levels where producers or consumers are in the ecosystem, and the way how they get energy and the energy flow. A food chain is a series of organisms in which each feeds on the one and the next lower level. Decomposers break down the remains and wastes of all organisms in the chain. Food chains show only one path for the flow energy. Feeding relationships are more complicated. They are called food webs, a network of interconnected food chains in an ecosystem. Look at the pictures. Many different organisms get energy from many different organisms, and they have complex relationships. The energy pyramid. Here we can see how the energy can change during the food chain. The first level and the biggest level with more quantity of energy are the producers. Remember that the producers get their energy from the sun and make their own food. This is the reason because they are in the first level. Then the primary consumers. Here we have a big quantity of energy, but it's not the same like the producers. Then secondary consumers, and finally the tertiary consumers. So we have a decrease of energy during the pyramid and during the food chain at food web. And even the population is smallest according to the path in the path of the food chain. So we are going to play true or false. A biotic factor is a living organism. 2. An ecosystem includes more than one population. 3. The abiotic factors don't affect the development of biotic factors. Now you have your answers. We are going to see. First, true. All the biotic factors are living organisms. The number 2, it's true. The number 3 is false. I hope you enjoyed the class. Have a nice day.